2040. Tesla's darkest secret. Neon washes the skyline as drones arc beneath a field of stars. Beams converge, carving a luminous Tesla sigil across low clouds. A rooftop resolves into a virtual stage, grid lines flickering alive. In silhouette, the narrator stands before the emblem's reflected glow. Glass catches the logo. The city holds its breath before the opening. He steps into a cone of light, skyline glittering beyond. Holographic dust spirals, forming a bright word, intro. Drones yaw and roll, weaving shadows like moving netting. He acknowledges the city, a faint smile touching the corner of his mouth. Intro holds mid-air as the stage breathes with subtle pulse. His calm cadence cues an expanding emblem of possibilities. Icons bloom, towers, cars, batteries, gridded cities. The camera circles, catching a glint in his composed eyes. Vectors lace between rooftops, a mesh of intention and reach. The studio atmosphere intensifies, beams carve disciplined lines. Fog drifts in low, as drones regroup above the stage. Beams etch numerals, 2040, hanging in the mist. Digits slide across his cheekbones like passing constellations. He turns slightly, emphasizing a year when secrets surfaced. The city listens, suspended beneath the glowing year in fog. The view dives from the rooftop toward arterial streets below. We skim past glowing billboards and glistening rain gutters. Headlights smear into ribbons across the wet roadway. A lit plaque emerges ahead. Tesla Research Laboratory, 2040. The plaque hums visually, beckoning us toward the entrance. The doors part to a pristine ecosystem pulsing with hidden intention. Biotech serenity masks industrial precision beneath leaf and light. Sensors read the room. The space reads him back without a word. The map pulses, inviting him deeper into the engineered calm. He crosses the threshold. The lab accepts him like a sealed promise. A living atrium choreographs light, leaf, and algorithmic dawn. Synthetic birdsong lingers while panels tilt, imitating a quiet sunrise. He traces the light as it crosses glass and leaf, thinking in layers. Beyond the leaves, a data forest breathes behind frosted glass. Light, plant, and code align. He moves on, collecting their meaning. A corridor of light funnels toward a cavernous research floor. The gate studies him. Authorization shimmers on the glass surface. A microburst of light sweeps his eye. The system decides. The barrier clears. Research space opens like a silent sea. He enters the hall of projections, ready to witness the core. City models rotate, energy paths arcing like threads of glass. Layers snap on and off with surgical clarity at a measured gesture. Energy vectors pulse brighter, mapping possibility into the grid. The scale sinks in. He reads the ambition in silent light. Together they stand inside a projection of tomorrow's power. The table-length hologram reveals districts breathing in linked rhythm. A tower blueprint expands, rings humming in silent suggestion. He watches vectors converge, calculating consequences behind the light. Network arteries brighten as he marks dynamic redirection points. The model steadies, a blueprint held between caution and promise. Miniature towers hum softly as arcing light dances between coils. Throughput numbers pulse on a readout as the engineer notes stability. The narrator leans closer, eyes catching the arc's electric shimmer. Side by side, they compare ring geometries and coil spacing. A final glance. The tiniest model flickers, hinting at scaled ambition. A wall-wide map unfurls, veins of supply routes threading continents. Lead engineer swipes to partnerships. Key names vanish under black bars. The narrator notes omissions, scanning patterns in what's left unsaid. A cluster of flags pulses, access tiers fade in like a quiet warning. Silence hangs as the room glows with blocked lines and open questions. Pulse maps, animate, neighborhoods brighten, and usage breathes like a living city. Coverage sweeps outward. He tracks the ring growth across districts. He reviews anomalies, late spikes and irregular consumption rhythms. Drone icons unfurl corridors of light. Patterns become nightly rituals. He exhales, recognizing how data sketches the heartbeat of homes. Morning light skims chrome as autonomous lanes weave in gentle cadence. Inside, he watches velocity cues bloom across the dash. The avenue's choreography tightens, cars adjusting like practiced dancers. He studies cooperative merges, the flow never breaking its rhythm. Beyond the glass, the city seems to breathe with predictable grace. Towering screens erupt with headlines as crowds slow to read. He shields his eyes, scanning contradictory claims rolling past. Skeptical pundits and celebratory anchors split the narrative feed. He steps closer, passing timelines, outages, and investor signals. The city pauses, absorbing shockwaves of optimism and doubt. A sea of placards fills the plaza as municipal drones hover overhead. Near the steps, a woman calls for free power as a man argues privacy. He skirts the edge, reading slogans and watching tempers rise. Chants crest as a line of drone monitors adjusts formation overhead. He notes the divide: liberation for some, control for others. Behind glass, two lab mice twitch in synchronized start-stop bursts. He studies plots of irregular spikes aligned to a nearby transmitter. Inside the enclosure, electrodes rest idle while behavior remains erratic. He compares timing bars, tracing the odd start-stop cadence. He looks from the mice to the coil, weighing what the spikes imply. We translate invisible fields into light, making risk legible. Each color band marks frequency, each knot a stress point. Step closer, and the model adapts to my presence. Note the caption: uncertainty grows with exposure and time. This is not fear, it's measurement and responsibility. Here, chemistry meets containment. Every watt accounted for. Specifications tell a quieter story than the marketing sheets. Watch the sealed vial. This is where caution becomes habit. End of life is designed, not guess follow the flowchart. We handle power like truth, carefully, transparently, completely. Policy is infrastructure. Words decide where energy can flow. Arguments coil around equity, security, and control. Watch the tally: consensus can shift in a heartbeat. A murmur rises as enforcement language tightens. What passes here will echo across every apartment meter. Public health threads through every watt we unleash. Patterns on paper mirror patterns in the city itself. Symptoms cluster near new transmitters, this board shows it. Evidence moves in whispers before it moves in courts. We document, we correlate, and we keep people in the loop. In the rain's hush, paper feels heavier than silicon. These are the pieces they never expected to meet. Tell me what connects them, no assumptions, only links. Every line here is a breadcrumb from lab to street. We proceed carefully, because the stakes cut both ways. Rain drums outside as papers and devices sprawl across the metal desk. He traces a map path while she points out hidden placements. Redactions loom like voids. He lifts a page to catch watermark clues. Embedded everywhere, she murmurs, tapping the cluster by the river. He aligns tickets by date, a pattern stepping forward from the noise. A cloth-wrapped journal opens, graphite sketches breathing under the lamp. Acetate overlays slide on, pencil lines align with modern geometry. He watches lines transform past grafting onto present in clean vectors. A calibration mark appears identical to the lab shelf prototype. They pin the layers, a composite blueprint, bridging a century. A wall projection blooms into a matrix of hidden urban nodes. Padlock icons appear beside select nodes, software gates no one sees. She sweeps a filter. Unlisted rooftops ignite at the periphery. He notes the locks cluster at transit interchanges and hospitals. The matrix resolves, a hidden backbone threading the visible grid. Lines of obfuscated calls stream across a dark console window. She pauses at a harmless label. His eyes catch the inline annotation. Privileges list unfurls. Block-level throttling, selective routing, overrides. He meets her glance. The implication needs no words. He marks the line, saving a capture for later verification. Half in shadow, the scrambler hums as the recorder rests between them. He nods once, a quiet promise to verify before revealing anything. She leans forward, voice filtered, hands tightening around the edge. Between them, the recorder's light steadies testimony begins. A distant thunder roll underscores the weight of the pledge. From a hillside, waves of light sweep outward as towers awaken. Rooftops shimmer as concentric rings skim over antenna crowns. Reflections race along glass canyons like a signal carried by light. The city inhales district by district, an orchestrated ignition. A final crest rolls past, leaving a lattice of steady radiance. Two neighbors stare as their wall panel drops to zero cost. Complimentary access granted, the panel chimes as eyes widen. They laugh, hands clasped, the room filling with grateful energy. In the doorway, the observer weighs wonder against the unknown. Outside the glass, the city hums. Inside, relief becomes hope. Crowds drift under neon, while discrete domes blink above signage. Lens ghosts shimmer inside plastic housings, easy to miss. He tracks reflections, finding eyes where branding wants attention. Above the flow, a tower's low hum threads the night air. Between celebration and scrutiny, the street keeps moving. Threads of light coil into living graphs inside a quiet chamber. Usage curves tighten, every minute accounted and drawn in light. He brushes the threads, data clings, then snaps home to a server. In the corner, a node throbs collection's silent heartbeat. He steps back, sensing the system's intimacy and reach. A release board cues silent patches across the city grid. Timestamps align with subtle shifts in the city's energy flow. He notices a pattern updates shadow changes in distribution. A door slides, someone arrives, and masks surprise with a smile. The board advances, indifferent, as intent remains unreadable. Rain blurs the window while a family readies dinner, unaware they are observed. He notes the late laundry pattern as the graph breathes through the evening. A kettle icon lights. He tracks a midnight tea ritual like a heartbeat. He hesitates at the 3 a.m. lamp spike, absorbing the intimacy of data. He steps back, realizing these charts are private lives rendered in watts. Logos orbit a shared grid, gateways knit companies into one nervous system. He selects a node, hidden pathways nest like roots behind a polished UI. A secure ping arrives, a warning from an ally watching the same lattice. He threads the graph, isolating gateways that masquerade as optimization. Confirmation appears. The web is larger and closer than he feared. Sunlight washes the atrium as officials mount a polished narrative. He raises a hand, eyes catching the speakers before sliding to talking points. He tracks the evasions, noting phrases polished smooth by repetition. He checks notes, aligning claims against the integrations he uncovered. His question lingers. The room exhales into applause that answers nothing. Rain scribbles on neon as two figures converge beneath a humming sign. They share an umbrella, voices buried in the rain's static. A tiny drive changes hands, etched with a crossed-eye power mark. They confirm details, wary glances scanning the ad-cluttered walls. They part ways, neon folding over the rain as the signal disappears. A soft fog halos streetlights as they set up on the shingled rooftop. He mounts the sensor, she steadies the tripod, checking level and azimuth. Numbers rise. He frowns as the trace thickens on the handheld display. She logs timestamps, calling the moment the update rolls across the grid. The spike hits. They exchange a look that confirms the pattern. Cold air hums as they enter the blue-lit server corridor. He follows the blinking routes toward an innocuous rack label. A hidden panel releases, a tucked switchboard waits behind. They exchange a look, telemetry bridged into a private enclave. He captures evidence while she traces the covert fiber route. From the overlook, the city unfolds in precise electric geometry. Usage signatures bloom on homes, transit cycles pulse in waves. He toggles a layer, inference outlines tighten around routines. A new label flickers, behavioral inference, his gaze hardens. He locks the overlay, committing the view and its implications. The update prompt swallows the wall, asking for quiet consent. He scrolls, jargon blooms like ivy over every familiar word. A discreet message slides in, look for the consent by continuity clause. He highlights the clause, the accept button waits, patient as gravity. He steps back, weighing convenience against autonomy, breath slow and measured. Steel shelves and dust greet them like a forgotten ledger of truth. They pull files marked dual-use telemetry and public safety failsafes. A memo hints at undisclosed routing inked signatures skirt accountability. He cross-references a diagram. The fog creeps under the door like a whisper. Page by page, the paper trail forms a map no dashboard ever showed. We followed the river of logs until a current slipped beneath the map. A private tenant blinked to life, then recoiled behind permissions. Patterns hid in the exceptions, not the norms. There, an address range slipped under the door like smoke. We pinned it long enough to prove the mask was deliberate. Rain wrote its own ledger on the glass while the city held its breath. Truth felt heavier than steel and lighter than smoke. He weighed impact against fallout, names against neighborhoods. Resolve arrived quietly, like a door clicking shut in the dark. They would move forward, careful, precise, and unafraid. Fog braided the parapets while the city murmured below. He called the console that would turn whispers into daylight. Faith answered with hardware, a token laid like a seal. A nod, and the line between doubt and duty cleared. Commitment is quiet, only the fog remembers the moment. The stage returned, larger, brighter, like a held breath released. Shards of light began assembling the word we had promised. The skyline leaned in, even the drones seemed to listen. Then the word formed, simple and inescapable: truth. He stepped forward, ready to connect names, systems, and choices. Evidence rose in tiles, each piece locking with the last. Mesh networks, household analytics, and unseen partners took their places. He connected how power moved and how control moved with it. No flourish, just facts assembled where everyone could see. The through line was undeniable, the choice ahead, unavoidable. He walked the seam between liberation and leverage. Power can free a city, or hold it by the throat. He asked what we surrender for comfort and who decides the price. The question lingered, heavier than any answer he could give. He left the balance line lit, for the city to measure itself. Power can free us or bind us. Which path are we choosing? When convenience rules, autonomy becomes a quiet afterthought. Leverage disguises itself as optimization, asking us not to look closely. Freedom is not free when a switch somewhere decides our brightness. Choose clarity over comfort. Demand the light be shared, not assigned. Every home whispers patterns, habits mapped as if they were currency. Wake times, device cycles, late lights, all inferred without a word spoken. Patterns shape profiles. Profiles invite decisions never asked of us. When behavior becomes a ledger, values are tallied without consent. Our lives are not commodities, they are lights to be kept ours. Look closely. Comfort is a bargain that asks for too much back. Awareness is power shared, distributed, never hoarded by a hidden hand. Ask who holds the switch and why they were given your trust. Hold the light, name the cost, choose autonomy with eyes open. You deserve the record, unfiltered judge with your own eyes. Contracts, telemetry, access paths shown exactly as they were kept. No spin. No permission needed. Only transparency, finally. All files made public so truth can be a common, living thing. Morning touches steel and glass, the city holds its breath. The constellation of drones dims, leaving sky and consequence. Some truths are quiet. Their echo is the choice we make next. We step into day together, eyes open, hands on our own light.